I'm Dale Smith for Looney Politics, and police chiefs, premiers, and federal conservatives are all convinced that the federal government is to blame for the rise in violent crime. According to their estimations, this is a result of what was Bill C-75, which did change some of the rules around bail in the criminal code. The problem is that the facts aren't actually matching up to this. Statistics show that these instances were on the rise before this bill had even passed, and what they say is in the bill isn't actually true. There were some changes to bail provisions in the Act, but those were simply to codify changes that the Supreme Court of Canada had made in their rulings. And in fact, the federal government made bail conditions tougher for certain offenses, particularly around domestic violence. Now, we have to remember that bail is a constitutional right, and it falls along with the rights that are pre-charter that are inherent to our Western conception of justice around things like the presumption of innocence. So bail is an important part of that system, and simply locking people up for suspicion would be a gross violation of civil and human rights. But the problem here is that these provinces in particular, as well as some police chiefs, are looking for someone to blame. But this is largely blame shifting and trying to escape responsibility. One of the things that provinces have not been doing is adequately funding their court systems. Provinces are responsible for the administration of the system of justice, which means they have to ensure that courthouses, courtrooms, are all properly resourced and staffed, and they haven't been. This is causing delays and backlogs. This means people are staying in pretrial detention or not having speedy trials and staying on bail longer than they should be. This is all cascading because of the province's responsibilities to the court system that they're not living up to. Police also have a role in this in terms of not always enforcing bail conditions, and that is also, what they're trying to blame the federal government for. The other thing we also have to remember are the social determinants by which these crimes are happening. And that means things like housing, mental health supports, social services. Those, again, are all provincial responsibility. And the provinces have been trying to shift some of that blame once again to the federal government. It's not really the federal government's responsibility. This is the domain of the provinces, but they're looking for someone else to blame for their failures. Now, part of the problem here also boils down to media, which will credulously both sides the accusations that the provinces are making without actually, for the most part, checking into the veracity of what they're saying. And that's leading to this narrative that the federal government has been lax or has created this so-called catch and release bail system, but that's not actually true. Talk to people in the justice system, particularly in the criminal law side, and you'll find that the provincial narratives just aren't holding water. For Looney Politics, I'm Dale Smith.